Hey, everybody, this is another episode of
Big Talk About Small Business.
We're back again. I told Eric today, we're gonna have a serious talk.
Oh, hell.
Okay.
I'm ready for it. I don't even know what you're going to talk about.
Well, there's some things I did want to talk about. It's really dawned on me as a big problem.
Okay.
I'm going to be interested to hear your perspective on this.
Great.
Okay. And what this problem is, I think it's absolutely pervasive through so many organizations. Mm-hmm. And that is this: when people who are in charge of an area, or when partners are dealing with other partners in their business, and they make a suggestion and say, we should do X, or here's what I think we should do, 1, 2, 3. And they send that to their partners or somebody who works in the company for them or in a client organization, and they just get nothing. Dead air as a response. Okay? I've had a number of situations like that, and it becomes a pattern. There's certain people, if they don't agree with what you're saying,
they just don't say anything.
They don't say anything. They don't go, you know what? I hear you, but here's why we're not going to do that, or here's where I have a problem with that. They simply stonewall you.
Yeah.
And don't respond. It's a passive-aggressive kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And sometimes you got to ask 4 times.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And you just get no response. If they don't like what you're saying, you get no response. Unacceptable.
I agree.
I just am so tired of that. Work it out. Okay?
Yep. It's like the start of bureaucracy. That's what that becomes. And if you're running a small business, you can't have any of that stuff going on.
You can't. You've got to have honest dialogue, because the priorities are changing constantly. Anybody who thinks they can make their plan out and it's just execute their plan and it's going to work out and without no diversions or changes along the way is kidding themselves.
So what do you do if you're the one that sent out that note, right?
I'm going to confront it. I'm not just going to let it sit there and go forever. I'm going to go, I need a response here.
Yeah, yeah.
I've brought this up 4 times. I've got no response. Okay, you're telling me something.
Yeah.
What's your problem with it?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you got to be the one that's insistent on getting that response back, because it's not like it's going to go away.
No.
And it's not like people are just going to do what needs to be done. And I think a lot of that goes back to that statement, that I kind of live by, that gives me comfort in all this business stuff, which is by the time you're tired of saying something, people are starting to listen.
Yeah.
A lot of times if I've sent a message out like that, it's because the team doesn't understand the vision again, or as deep as they need to understand it,
Yes.
And so, but
Super critical.
if I just let that float out there and it doesn't ever get addressed, and I'm not the one that's persistent on getting that response, then all it does is just it completely stonewalls everything, and it just makes everything bottle up. But then B, it teaches a habit that's acceptable, and then next thing you know, that's all that's happening.
And they're doing it to each other, and other people are doing it because they see their bosses doing that. Here's another problem, though, that absolutely drives me nuts, okay, is when you ask somebody to do something and they tell you how busy they are.
Yep.
I can't do that because I'm so busy right now. Okay? Wait a minute. Okay, whose company are you working in here?
Yeah, right.
Okay? And you think you're busy?
Yeah.
It's like when I tell my kids to do something. I can't do that. I don't have the time. I'm like, what are you out of your mind? You don't have the time? You don't want to make the time.
That's right.
Because you don't want to do this, but this is what we need to do now.
And a lot of those things are because the things that have been discussed and planned for a person to do, they do them, and they don't ever take the initiative to figure out how to make that particular previous objective process-driven, more efficient.
Oh, dude.
Pass it off. Find contractors.
Bad delegators, bad managers. Yeah, all
and then
that.
they can't fill up their bucket more. There's no way that you can start any position or role and only do that one thing for the rest of your life. Oh, and then get paid more money.
Yeah, I know.
The economics of that make 0 sense. It's just not going to ever be possible.
I have never worked with anybody who tells me that they can't do something because they don't have the time, that I could not figure out where the time could be found.
Yeah.
Okay? It always comes back to what you're talking about. They are doing tasks that there's no reason they should be doing. They should part with those, but they're control freaks.
Yep.
Or they feel like that's some measure of job security, that other people don't know how to do those things.
Which is the worst. Yep.
Or they like to do those things and they don't give those up, but it's not the best use of their freaking time.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of times maybe they're not even ambitious in what they're doing. You know, I mean, like when I used to work with you, like if you gave me another thing, I don't think I ever said I don't have the time.
No, you would never do that.
And I'd actually want you to give me more stuff. That was the intent of what I was trying to continue to learn. And if you asked me to do something, I took that as an appreciation and that you knew I could handle that.
Yeah.
And I felt good about that.
Right.
And then I'd go try to conquer it and murder it. And by the way, I knew my position. And if I had other people on the team that were better suited for it, I would figure out what you wanted me to do. I'd perfect that, make sure you were good with it. And then I would package that thing up, and then I go assign it to somebody else that can do it.
Yeah, you're really
and I gave
good
them
at
the
that.
process to it.
It's true. You're good at that. But, you know, my old partner, Fred White, used to say smart people are inherently lazy. I don't know that it's laziness. I just think it's intelligence.
Yeah.
Is what it is. It's good management.
Yeah.
If somebody else can do this, that I can part with this, it frees up my time to do other stuff.
Yeah.
And how am I going to make that possible? Of course, as you said, it takes a little planning, it takes a little instruction, but then it takes a willingness to see if they can freaking do it.
Yep.
It's
interesting. You know, I mean, I think that the older I get, the more I realize like that, business is a lot like marriage in the sense of where your partner grew up in a completely different atmosphere, learn all kinds of behaviors, make decisions. They have all these fears that are baked up inside every decision that they make.
Yeah.
They're human beings. Same thing in business. Like when you hire folks and they get in, you start realizing that a lot of them are scared to spend money from the company, right? Even though I've told them, I'm like, hey, you have this budget, go spend it, or you have the ability to.
They think it's better not to spend it.
Yeah, and it's like, oh man,
but then it doesn't get done.
It doesn't get done, and then you can't take on more responsible things that I need you to do to drive the business.
Yes,
and so I mean, I think that there's a level of trying to coach people out of that, but then at the same time, if all you're doing is coaching, then you're not able to drive other decisions, and all your time's being taken by trying to coach people out of things that maybe they're going to be resistant about doing that for months.
I mean, part of the problem is they came to work for you as an employee.
Yeah.
They're not thinking like an owner of a business. They are more risk averse naturally. They think they have a lot of preconceived notions. I see it with my students. When we talk about, like in my new venture class, the idea of using debt versus equity.
Yeah.
They've been taught that debt's all bad.
Yeah.
Okay, but wait a minute. If I have debt, I can control my business. I still own it.
That's right.
I may owe money to everybody, but I own the business. As soon as I part with the equity, now somebody else owns the business. Now we're going to go their direction. But it's so imbued in them.
Yep.
That debt is bad.
Yeah.
And it's because of their upbringing.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. Don't get a credit card.
Yeah.
If you get a credit card, spend $100 on it, pay it all off the very next month. And that's not really leveraging the cash flow like you probably should be able to, right?
Yeah,
And I mean, and then, oh, by the way, if you have debt one place, you're stuck there forever until you pay it off. No, you can refinance it. You're always trying to figure out a better rate, better terms.
Hey, and if I'm borrowing money at 8%, but I'm making 50 or 100% return on my invested capital, why wouldn't I want to do that?
All day.
Okay?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I?
Yeah, people are just so scared about like this horror story of that where you rack up debt and then you just owe it for the rest of your life. Everybody hates you. You can't ever borrow again. And that's just not, I mean, if you look in history, that's just not what a lot of the entrepreneurs went through. A lot of them went through bankruptcies, but they still continued on. They still continued on.
The debt, too, there's different kinds. I mean, if it's just debt for personal consumption, that's one thing. But if it's debt and you're taking that debt on so you can support your business
That's
goals,
right. And you can get over those hurdles that you can't get over, right?
Yeah. But anyway, you're right. I mean, the programming, the history, the how people are raised, the culture, all these things affect their behavior when they're working in companies like ours.
Yep.
And it's difficult. You've got to. Some of them are trainable, retrainable, and some of them aren't.
And sometimes it takes time. I mean, I think that, it's interesting. Even like with the company I have now, like there's individuals that I will invest a little bit more because you can see that they're wanting to break through themselves.
Yes, there's a light in there.
There is. And then, and I'm
a little flame there.
Little flame trying to blow up.
Yeah.
And you can kind of really see that ceiling that they don't even know is there, that they put on themselves. But, sometimes they have to get to this point to where they have to introspect. They literally have to, it's them conquering themselves.
Yes.
And sometimes it has to kind of get to a road where it's like, just had a case recently that is like, they have to think about, is this what they want to do in life? And then you let them go think, and then you come back. And then, I'm like sitting there going, I don't know I'm expecting it to go the way of like, look, this isn't for me. But it actually turned out that, no, I'm going to take this on. That's beautiful.
That's a beautiful
you
see them developing.
Man.
You see them maturing.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Because that's actually a legacy thing, man. Like if somebody can overcome themselves, then you change your generation. You change your family history and your legacy because you overcome something.
It's one of the greatest satisfactions of being a business owner.
100%.
It always comes back to this, is to seeing your people succeed. Okay? It's just so it's better than buying a freaking vacation house.
Absolutely. It's better than money, man. 100% better than money.
It's so true. Well, we got to pull something out of the hat. Would you like to pull from the hat today?
Can I?
Yeah, please.
Thanks, Mark.
We're pulling out of the Zweicat a topic, and we're going to talk about this briefly.
This one is just one word.
Okay, what's that?
Synergy.
Oh, God. Okay, I think a lot of people think it's just a cliche, but it's true. You can't have synergy.
Sure.
I think every acquisition from a strategic buyer, the intent is to have synergy. Now a financial buyer that just wants to keep you out there on the side, there's not going to be any synergy.
Right.
But is it possible? Yeah, it is possible. I think there's a lot of things that work against it, though, in a typical deal structure.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, on an acquisition side for the word synergy that's the kind of the big goal. But it's actually, my experience in acquisitions, and had a few, and I know that you've had a lot more, but the integration and becoming synergy with the company that you acquired, or that whole thing, is one of the hardest things that I think that companies can go through.
It is.
There's just not many people that I've seen do it very well.
Yeah.
Even with their best intentions.
Well, a lot of times the deal structure works against it.
Yeah.
I had this discussion recently with a client of mine who got an offer, and we're dealing with the M&A quote advisor.
Yeah.
He's trying to get him to take this deal, which was, in my mind, a really crappy, bad deal that they never should have taken, which they didn't, thankfully. And there's not going to be any synergy. They say it's a strategic buyer, but then, we're going to keep your name the same. We're going to keep you out on the side over there. And a third of the deal is based on your earnout. Okay, which is only what you do, what you get, and what you do. Okay, I'm like, that's not synergy.
Yeah.
And there's no role identified for the seller in the overall company. Their role is to just keep running their own business. I go, that's a financial buyer.
Yeah.
There's no synergy there.
Yeah.
What's the point of being part of this network of companies? They're all held out there as individual companies because of the deal structure that you have. And then what's the integration vehicle?
Yeah.
Do they have like regular meetings? Do all the clients get shared between these companies? Is there some mandatory process that you look for expertise through the entire network of companies if you get a job? No, there's none of that.
Right.
Zero.
And if you're the
Get any
seller in that,
synergy.
if you have the right mindset, one problem with synergy is on those things is you have one party that really believes it and the other one that really doesn't. But yet you're still using that term as like that's why you should come together, right?
Yes,
So if
that's
I'm a
true.
seller and I can see that it's just for the money part of the acquisition, if I can align that, okay, this is what this is, and then I don't have an expectation. I'm not going to spend emotional or time, energy
Good point.
into trying to be having synergy with this new buying company and then just hit nothing but walls. It's going to be absolutely frustrating.
Yes.
And then you're gonna have a bad taste. Your team's gonna have a bad taste. I mean, everybody's gonna be miserable as hell.
Yeah, it's like an outright misrepresentation of what the situation is.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that like maybe buyers should come together. Like, I mean, if they can approach it as in that's what exactly this is, then then you don't have all that extra attention to something that doesn't even exist.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. I just want to buy you for your assets.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do my stuff. Here's the deal.
Yeah.
If you want a little third and you want to keep driving your business, but just know that you're going to be over there on your own.
Yeah.
And if you want to take that, that's good. I mean, I can. It makes sense for me financially to pay you that.
Yeah.
But there's no integration here, bro.
No.
Like I don't want your.
Yeah.
I don't
Be
want what you
honest.
do.
Honesty.
Honesty, man.
It just comes down to honesty. The whole synergy thing is based on a lot of misrepresentation, whether it's intentional or it's a byproduct of the culture and the deal structure. It's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Anyway, I don't know. Synergy inside the company, I'm not sure that.
Well, I think that's. I think that on inside the company with the team. I mean, to me, that's culture, right? That's that is what the culture is. You're trying to make have a culture that is synergistic, But that's not a one-time thing and you're done. You can't just hope for that. You have to work your butt off on that.
I'm telling you.
It's just a constant initiative.
And again, you can't have your incentive schemes all set up. So you eat what you kill over here, and these guys eat what they kill over there. And
That's right.
Never is there any reason for you to cooperate. Okay. That's another common problem I see. It's like the whole incentive structure is geared around how the particular revenue generating unit performs as opposed to how the overall.
That's right.
I never liked any of that in my companies. I want the overall company to be the only thing anybody cares about.
But that's
it.
That's your apex of of having synergy.
Yeah.
If everybody's driving the same big number, then you can. But then you got to find your way to have goals that are driving to that, so that everybody knows that okay, what I'm doing is impacting that.
Yes, some people who run companies are afraid to do that because they say, "Well, then I'm not holding people accountable." Okay, there's no accountability then because I'm just part of this bigger thing, and like you said, there's got to be a way to measure and report on the productivity. But the thing about that I've found is, businesses run in cycles. You know this. Like you could have a company that serves 5 different types of clients. These clients over here might be hot for 3 years. Okay, then that market cools down.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, while they're hot, these other ones aren't doing that good.
That's right.
Or as well. Okay, but 3 years later, the situation changes.
Yep.
There's a reason why we serve these different groups of clients or markets.
100%. Plus, they're
Yeah,
no, absolutely. Like I think that's been one of my experiences. We try to. It's so easy for companies to kind of forget their OG clients. Which to me, in my mind, is the most important clients, right? Because you have this relationship, and you try to, and you should be able to continue to accommodate them, and keep doing what you're doing, and give focus on that. You can't keep going for the shiny objects all the time. There's a core.
Oh God, I tell you, that's such a problem in professional service firms.
Yeah, it is.
They take their original clients for granted, and they put their resources on the new clients, and then they use their good old clients as a training ground for neophytes. That's always been one of my pet peeves.
Oh, it happens on my side all the time if I'm a buyer.
Yeah.
Like I'm when I talk to them and I find out that they're going for bigger clients, I'm like, I know what they're doing. They're just I'm being
deprioritizing
being used. I want your better team.
Yeah.
My money, my cash is just as good as everybody else's.
Yeah, I don't want the second string here. Right?
That's right. That's right.
That's true.
It's a hard thing to fight.
All right. Well, I don't know that we're going to get any further on synergy. So, our topic for the day is the biggest mistakes company founders make. Okay, what do you think about that? Why is that important for people out there in the listener land?
Listener land. I mean, first of all, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, there are.
And I think that if you go down that road, like a lot of times when you're making decisions, what I've found is that some of the smaller, what I thought were small decisions, become just absolutely enormous, big problems, and you never have more time than you do right now.
A great illustration of that is hiring the wrong people from the start. Okay, who do typically new companies hire? Relatives, people they know, people who work cheap.
Yep.
Friends and family. That's where and those are the problems that later on manifest themselves as much bigger issues.
Yeah.
Easy to make now. I need something done. I don't have a lot of money. So-and-so's available to help me out. Right?
Yeah, I think that there's different, and you got to, it depends on the role within the company. So like, for example, with podcast videos, what I did is I didn't hire highly experienced leaders in the beginning, like I did, like high earners or experienced people.
Sure,
like
you can't afford to. I mean, you're starting out. Yeah,
can't afford to, and then also it's what I've learned that can be a massive problem because what I need to do in the beginning is I have to articulate a specific vision. I don't want my company being another agency or another one of these things. I'm trying to innovate something. I'm trying to create something new. And based on my experience and my investment, this is my investment. And so I need to articulate the vision with tangible results and real work, right? And I need folks to get in there and just follow direction and just go into the uncharted territories that for them, but I know where it's going. Then I bring on leaders once we've figured out the work.
Right.
And so we're kind of in that stage right now. But I did actually last year hire a leader for more of the business practices, the operational, the project management, the financial parts, the kind of the ones that are like, does actually need to require, it doesn't require anything, super specific to our industry. I mean, there is attitude to it, but I needed somebody to really, that could think and lead in that specific realm. And so I think it's a lot about timing. And, and even then, like, I don't know if I did everything right, but, I feel like that it's the right way to go, and then leaders can come in and they can polish really well.
Yeah.
And they can start leading people,
They're refining.
They're helping guide folks. They're looking at better goals. They're paying more attention to the team that I maybe couldn't have given that amount of attention to.
Well, and maybe your people you hired had to be pulled in a lot of different directions too initially, because you can't just hire experts for everything, right?
No, and then they're doing a lot of things, and as you add another person on, everybody becomes a little bit more focused in a lane. At first it's really broad.
Right, exactly.
But then and that's a hard thing to, like if you have one person doing a lot of stuff and you hire somebody else, it's like this person that was doing a lot has a big struggle to like let go,
right,
and let this other person take on work, even though that's what they wanted the whole time.
Yeah,
but it's a really hard transition.
Oh, sometimes people, they resent them too. They're like, well, of course they can do a good job with that. That's the only thing they got to do.
Yeah, and then, or they feel
do 10
threatened
things.
About it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's another, going back to the fear stuff. But I mean, I think that like when we're talking about the biggest mistakes is, when you hire somebody, like it's not just hiring and letting them walk in the door and get to work, right? I mean, there's some preemptive things, discussions you got to have with the existing team. They have to really understand And you have to be very attentive to the fears that might be being placed in people. And so I try to do a better job of that preemptive discussions, making sure that folks know this is not a threatening. I'm bringing in this this new
is help.
This is help. This is going to help you grow. This is going to help everything out. And don't be worried about your job.
Well, I've got another situation. So it's a company I'm intimately involved with as an owner, and when you talk about mistakes that founders make, I mean, the whole culture of the place was based on this is a lifestyle business. So we hire people who want to come here and have a certain lifestyle. We don't want to work over 4 days a week. We want to be able to go on camping trips with our buddies. We want to be able to, every Friday night, talk about what independent brew pub we're going to and what band is playing. If you're following me, okay?
Yeah.
We're not necessarily here to build this company to enrich you as the owner, which is not the only purpose of it whatsoever.
Yeah.
So to try to get them to go from that's the culture to where we don't want to work that hard. We work here because we don't want to work hard. We don't care that we don't make a lot of money. Yeah, we'd like to make more money. We'll complain about it every so often. But when it really comes down to the nut cutting, we're not going to make any sacrifice to make more money, okay, or to make this thing better. So that culture that is created from the get-go, because it starts out as a hobby, is a real problem for some businesses.
Yeah.
Okay.
That seems like a really great idea. Very peaceful, but it's not.
Yeah, it's not sustainable. So you're right. You got to go back to the vision, and you've got to explain to people what the real vision is, how that's going to benefit them and change their lives, what we're going to have to go through in order to make that happen. And some of those people will not be there. Some of them, a light's going to go off and say, oh my gosh, yeah, we could do that. I could have a different life than I have right now.
Yeah.
Maybe it won't be so hand to mouth. Maybe I can actually pay for my kid to go to college, or, have steak instead of
beans.
80% lean burger every day. Or what? Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, maybe I could actually. So some people will wake up to that, and the vision's got to be one that they see themselves participating in and benefiting from. But I do think it. When we're talking about mistakes companies make, it's we create an expectation. On the front end because of a lack of resources or the scale that we're operating at that time.
I think it's on the lifestyle thing. I think that's a really dangerous scenario, and I've seen a lot of people do that, especially that have worked a long time in corporate.
Yeah.
It's first of all, it's a lot of hard work where they were at, and they see a lot of things that are happening, and they attach that all the negatives that they experience was because the company is just focused on money.
Yeah.
And so then they want to start a business that doesn't focus on money or focus on revenue, and that's
I've probably been guilty of that myself in the past. Even comparing my original business to my successor business.
Right. Yeah, and so you want to create this environment.
I don't need the money.
I don't need money. We're not after money. We're after friendships and whatever else it might be, in which
building public visions of our art or whatever.
Right. Yeah. And it's such a dangerous thing because if you start out a business with that intent, you're going to basically, businesses are nothing but a group of people, right? And then you're going to be hiring people based on that reality. But those people, I would have loved that type of business when I was, maybe 19 years old and had a great time.
Yeah.
But by the time I'm 27 and I have a kid and I'm married, shit changes real quick.
No kidding. Exactly.
And so you're going to have these people that are going to grow out of this perspective.
Yes.
And they need more. They want more. And you're going to lose people because of that.
Good people. Yeah.
And if they can't find a pathway. So I think that there's not a way to start a business that doesn't have an objective to build revenue, grow, have an exit, or provide a lot of lot of
and
financial
maintain
resources.
good people. I agree with that. I've always said growth has to be, when business owners tell me, well, we don't really want to grow, I'm like, okay, you're not going to have anybody good that's going to work here eventually.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not going to be self-sustaining.
Utopias don't work, do they?
No, they don't. So what other mistakes do you think founders make?
I mean, one of the biggest one is not investing in sales or marketing.
Oh God, yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God, it's no marketing. It's so common.
And you have in the bucket of marketing is advertising. You know, and you have to invest in advertising.
Yep.
In your marketing plan, honestly, at my previous company, we had basically a $0 advertising budget. Right. However, we had a different way to make sure we were in the public. Like we did a lot of in-kind.
Yes.
Marketing support.
Yeah.
That were already exposed to certain audiences that we wanted it to be in front of. Mm-hmm. So even though we spent little to no cash,
time was invested.
But time was invested,
and that's money.
Significantly.
Yeah,
very much
time,
very much so.
Yeah,
and so, I think that if you don't have this relentless pursuit of being out in front, showing up, being in front of your target, and that's not a significant part of your plan, then you're fooling yourself. Because I see, like a lot of times I hear like product's the most important. I agree, your product is, but if you don't have a way to promote that, then you're
just building a better mousetrap doesn't mean everybody's going to beat a path to your door, right?
No.
I mean, you see this over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it blows my mind. I had a tenant in one of my retail centers who had a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
He had really good food. Okay, mm-hmm. This guy had his restaurant established in another location. He moves to our location. He doesn't even put a sign up in his old location. I've moved to a new location. He does nothing, 0 social media posts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all I could think to myself was, if I had that restaurant, I swear to you, I'd put 5 to 10 posts a day on Instagram and Facebook of my food, and my customers enjoying my food.
That's right.
Okay, and if I just did that every freaking day, not the days I felt like it and then not doing it for a week or a month. Every single day. Boom, 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 boom. That guy would have been successful. It's like, if you said that to him, he'd be like, oh, I don't have time for that. How long does that take?
Not long.
I can go to the bathroom and put my damn post out. I could sit there at night, make 5 of them in 20 minutes, 10 minutes probably, and schedule them to go out.
Yeah. There's so much you can do now.
It's like, it's not that hard, but they don't do it. But I've got really good food. Okay.
Yeah, but one of the easiest things I can see that, especially a business that's a local business, has a local audience, like a restaurant, one of the biggest misses that I see these folks doing, that is the easiest thing to do, and probably one of the most important, is focus on your Google business.
Oh, of course.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, your search criteria.
Yeah, just for where your location is on the map. And you go in and you build out that profile. You make sure your hours are accurate. You pay attention to it.
Oh, God, there's so many of them that's inaccurate.
I mean, just drive for reviews on that. That is so critical.
There's one business that again, it's interesting because it's the same owners of the one I told you that failed. Mm-hmm. If you go and you do a Google search and you get their phone number and you dial that number, by clicking on it, it doesn't work.
That's terrible.
It hasn't worked in 2 years.
You can't.
And they're like, no, that number doesn't work. I'm like, fix it. For God's sake.
It'll take 10 minutes.
Yeah.
10 minutes.
I'm trying to make a friggin' order from you, and I get a random recording.
Yeah.
Because your number's wrong here.
Yeah. I mean, it's terrible. It's so easy.
But hey, I'm too busy for that.
Yeah.
Don't bother me with that.
Yeah. You got to be relentless in the sales.
I saw another business here locally that was started by one of my former students and her boyfriend, significant other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're having some success with it, okay? But then I saw their sign yesterday on North College.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got this sign out by the street. It's elevated and everything. You can't even read the sign, Eric. It's white writing on a light pink background.
Yeah. There's some fundamentals there.
What? Wouldn't you notice that? What? I want to go I want to go slap him.
It's just that obvious.
Wait,
Right.
what the hell's wrong with you? You can't see that?
Yeah. Hey, one thing I want to go back. I want to go back to the hiring the right people. Real
Okay,
quick,
well, we're
because
stepping back now.
yeah, well, because like, how does a business owner identify those people? Because the interview process, I'm not a really big believer in a totally structured interview process, especially for a small business.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean,
How do you find the right people? To me, that's like this mystery in a way. And I guess that over time I found a way to clue in. But I mean, I think it comes back to, you have to be able to have something instinctual in you.
yeah.
And so when I'm talking to people, like, I'm really listening to what they're talking about their personal life and what's important to them. You know, and
Well,
I'm trying to gauge how important is it that you come into this business and that you are driving for the growth of the company.
Yeah.
And if I hear things that are, in my mind,
Counter to that.
counter to that,
Yeah, it's a red flag.
it is a massive red flag.
I think, I'm a big believer in a consistent process for hiring, but that doesn't mean I believe in a consistent process for interviewing. Okay. So
Tell
there's
us
certain,
more.
yeah, there's certain steps you need to follow. Okay.
Okay.
Like, first thing is there anybody inside the company? I mean, what do I want somebody to do? Is there anybody inside the company? Is there somebody inside the company who wants that job?
Yeah.
We ought to at least give them a chance.
Sure.
I mean, there's certain things. Before I run an ad, I should look at my database of prior applicants and see if that got anybody in there. Okay. So that's what I mean when I say a consistent process. I mean, we're going to write an offer. The offer letter is going to have certain things in it. We're going to give people certain materials on the company. We're going to have a certain we're not going to give them 2 weeks to make a decision. We give them 48 hours.
Yeah.
There's certain things that we always do. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a certain onboarding process, okay? All that, I think, needs to be consistent. But when you sit down in a room with somebody and meet them, that's where, do I ask these 10 questions? No, not necessarily.
Right.
It's what you said. It's like, I want to get to know the person.
Yeah.
I want them to let their guard down. I don't want them to be defensive. That's the only way I'm really going to figure out what they're all about. And so it takes a much less structured approach, I think.
I agree. I'm a big, hey, let's have coffee and let's chat. Let's meet. Let's discuss what's going on.
Yes.
Where have you been? What have you done?
Yes.
And then, following up with that, like, what's the response time?
Yeah.
Noticing if they've, what have they been doing for the last couple of weeks since we started talking? My biggest one is like, hey, I can't, when do you want to come back in and talk again and keep talking about the job? Well, it's Monday, right?
Yeah.
And I met with you on Friday last week. Oh, I'm out for the next 2 weeks on vacation.
Right. Like, no. We used to always look at their cars in the parking lot to see, like, what their car looked like.
Yeah.
If they were slobs,
Yeah.
they didn't have to have a nice car or anything.
Yeah.
But if it's, like, filthy and you look at the interior and it's all just got, like, fast food trash in it or whatever, it's like,
They're not taking care of themselves. It's going to be hard to take care of a company.
Exactly.
And take care of a bigger family.
No pride. I'll never forget one guy that this company, the first day I went there, and I was in charge of HR for a particular section of the company. It's called Division One. It was Memphis and Little Rock. And the boss, the CEO, he was interviewing a guy. The first day I show up for CFO, he comes out of his office. He says, I want you to meet our new CFO. And I meet this guy, okay? And I immediately got a negative feeling about him. I won't get into my prejudices on why, but I did. So I said, let me see the resume on that guy, Don. So I get it. He's got an MBA from Memphis State, 77 to 78, undergraduate in finance, 77. This is like 1983, okay? So first off is while he was in there interviewing the guy, I went out in the parking lot to see what he was driving because we had visitor spots.
Yeah.
72 Cadillac DeVille, no fender skirts. They were gone and no hubcaps on it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute. And this guy's got an MBA? This doesn't look like an MBA car to me. I was driving a like a 79 or 80 Saab 900 Turbo at the time. That was a yuppie car that you drive if you were an MBA. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not a 72 Caddy.
Yeah.
With no fender skirts.
And you gotta fix
and
that.
And no
stuff.
hubcaps.
You gotta fix that.
And I thought, this doesn't add up. Anyway, make a long story short, I start checking the background out on this guy, and I find out he does not have either an MBA or a degree in finance. It was all a lie. I made the CEO renege on our offer.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I said, Don, you hired this guy? No, you got to get us out of it.
Lying.
Okay?
Lying, deception.
First day on the job. But the only reason I point that out is, like you say, the signs.
Yeah.
You can't ignore the signs.
Well, because bringing on people, it's especially in service-based business. I mean, obviously, really in any business, is the most expensive investment you can make. Okay. It's one of those things like where, and it's should be a long-term investment. You know, I mean, you don't hire people for a short time period unless that's exactly why you're hiring them. But I mean, once that problem starts, that's one of the hardest things to get out of.
Oh, I'm telling you.
It takes so much energy out of everything. You keep giving people chances. You keep trying to work on it. But at the whole time, the source of that person, that individual, is not in line to acclimate, then that problem will never be rectified.
I saw this video. I know you like Gary Vee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's fine. I mean, I don't love him, but I mean, he's good at me. He makes some good points. Yeah,
he does. I mean, yeah, he seems like an asshole on a certain level. He's egocentric or whatever. Uh-huh. He was talking about one of the greatest satisfactions of business is firing what do you call them? D-heads.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you see that video? And because they're so negative and they're such a problem that when you get rid of them, you feel so good. He goes, and sometimes they're great performers, but they're not people who get it. He goes, good performers are either good performers for one of two reasons, because they are very secure or because they're very insecure. Because most are very insecure. Therefore, they alienate people around them.
Yeah.
Therefore, they're a problem. Okay?
It's very true.
Anyway, I just thought that was
kind of funny. And the problem is that once you hire somebody like that, it takes a while to start seeing those things come out. Because a lot of times they're lying, they're fibbing, they're smoking mirrors.
Yeah, and then we delay on making decisions.
Absolutely.
We don't want to, we're back to
procrastination. Don't want to hurt.
Don't want to start all over again.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's hard. But you have to do it. You have to do it.
A couple other things I think people do, aside from hiring the wrong people and doing nothing in marketing, is they don't do a good job tracking their numbers. They don't really follow any kind of financial plan.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to be paranoid. I'm going to be looking at my bank accounts every single day. I'm going to be on QuickBooks 10 times a day, okay, to see what the hell's going on.
You're good. I admire that.
I'm going to have a cash flow forecast. I'm looking ahead to see whether I'm going to run out of money or not. I am absolutely driven by paranoia about the money.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are just too loose, and they almost don't want to know.
I'm guilty, man. I admire that in you. I want more. I want to know how to do that more.
Well, you're too well off.
No.
That's your problem.
No, it's not. I mean, honestly, like even whenever I was
everything I ever had is like got no capital at all. Okay.
No, I mean, like even like, I've always been loose on that as far as paying attention to it. I don't know why, and I need to figure that out.
It's not.
Well, it's not exciting, but it's also like it kind of almost is what it is, so my mind's just 100% on new business.
Yeah,
like if I can bring more in at the top,
you'll solve every problem. I understand that logic too.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong. Okay,
and I
am very revenue driven.
Yeah.
That's why I always hate it when I hire these people who tell me we got to get out of that. We don't make money on that. We need to pull the plug on that. We don't make. I'm like, no, you don't. I'm not going to give up any of my revenue here, guys. You want me to get out of this because we don't make money on it? What that pays for overhead still?
Yeah.
Pull that out. Where's, how much more do we have to make everywhere else to make up for the, quote, loss of selling this that we don't make money on? Anyway, it's always been a pet peeve of mine.
So
with
you watch
on-
the you
I'm
watch
with the
those
top
numbers
line.
like a hawk.
Oh
You're
my God,
always-
do I ever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're always. And my wife is the same way. Like, I mean, anything that hits the account, she's investigated.
Yeah.
100%. She'll text me, "Hey, did you do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, that was me." But I mean, like, there's never a second.
I do think that's a mistake that a lot of small business owners make. Okay, that coupled not knowing their numbers, which then impacts where they spend money and the things they spend money on. And then that coupled with taking too much out too early.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's like, well, as you said, I had my corporate job. I made $200K a year or whatever. I got to live on $200K. No, you need to learn to live on like nothing for a while, or $50K or whatever.
Yeah, everything goes back in the business.
Everything, everything. When I started my company, I had a new Forerunner and I had a new Alfa Romeo. I say new, within a year. Okay, Forerunner and Alfa Romeo. Gone. Okay, I bought myself a $300 Dodge Colt.
Nice.
With a bad clutch. No, $200. I paid $200. I sold it 2 years later for $300.
Yeah.
I made $100.
Boom.
And I'm a car guy.
Yeah.
I hated that.
Sure. But you have to sacrifice.
Exactly. I wanted every dollar I could to direct into the business.
Yep.
And not personal consumption. And I know you lived like that.
Oh, totally. I still do in a lot of ways.
Yeah. You were always like that.
Like, and you have to learn to navigate that personally. And then you also have to navigate your family.
Hey, I remember when you had a 4,000 square foot, 2-story house in a very affluent area, and you moved out of that into your rental.
Oh, yeah.
It was probably 1,500 square feet in a predominantly student-oriented area, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't really do anything to the place either when you moved in.
No.
Because you're like, you know what? I'm going to live freaking cheap.
Super cheap. Dirt cheap.
Yeah.
And that was some of those things are humbling.
Of course they are.
Especially I remember whenever I did that, and then I had like some folks over from the team, and there were people like, "Oh my gosh, our CEO lives in this dump," kind of.
It wasn't a dump, but I'm just saying.
But I mean, it
wasn't what you lived in before.
No, but it was. But it was definitely a shocker. But in all honesty, they were making more than I was at the time.
Yeah.
And I lived like that. I mean, I've lived off of zero payroll for 9 months at a time.
Right.
Back in the day when I didn't have anything in savings, and I was putting things on.
But you didn't have a twin bridal staircase.
No.
Like that house you had before that.
No, I didn't.
I seem to remember the stairs came down on both sides and dumped, didn't they?
Yeah.
Am I wrong about that? They were curved.
No, they were. It would come down on one side, and it had these landings that would come down.
Yeah.
But it was definitely
impressive. It was grand, like a 2-story entry.
Yeah. It was grand.
But you don't need all that bullshit.
No.
Right? You got to live cheap. You got to fuel this thing that makes you money.
Everything goes back in. Everything goes back towards sales and marketing.
Reinvesting. I did the same thing. I bought the second cheapest house in Natick, Massachusetts when I bought my house in 1988 there.
Yeah.
Okay. And believe me, it was so ugly. Lime green, built 1870. The entire yard had a chain link fence around it and was paved with asphalt. It looked like an industrial compound. Okay? Now, the house I had before that in Texas was completely redone. It wasn't fancy, but it was totally redone. The house I had before that in Memphis was a 5-bedroom, 3.5 bath in Germantown in a community that had a community pool and clubhouse, and I bought it from a doctor.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, I'm just saying.
It's all sacrifice.
And I lived there for 8 years in that house. Even when I was making a lot of money, I was still living in that house.
Because you were continuously reinvesting in the business. And I think that's there are a lot of folks that want to be an entrepreneur, that have good jobs, making good money. The risk is that, do you recognize what you're going to have to sacrifice? Because you are going to if there's one thing that's true in owning business and starting business, it's absolute sacrifice.
Sacrifice financially and time.
Totally. Everything. Health, whatever it takes, man.
Yeah. I mean, my health isn't enhanced by a half a pack of Luckies and
No.
4 cups of coffee and a Burger King Whopper at lunch
No, man.
that I can get in 5 minutes and drive while I'm eating it?
Yeah.
No, I shouldn't admit that I do those things and still do. I was thinking the other day, I'm damn near 67 years old, and the average lifespan for a male in this country is 73.
Oh, wow.
So that gives me like 6 more years to live.
Wow,
My
bro,
13-year-old is only going to be a freshman in college when I keel over.
But that's not what's going to happen.
Okay.
Man. You got these genetics that you can last till hundreds.
I need to change. But yeah, so I think we could go on. There's a lot of mistakes founders make. But unfortunately, we're running out of time. Okay.
It's been good.
Yeah. This is a good discussion today. It's a serious discussion.
Mm-hmm.
We want to help people.
Yeah.
We want them to learn from us. You don't have to learn everything on your own.
That's true.
Okay?
That's true.
Learn from other people.
Mm-hmm.
Learn from their mistakes. Learn from their experience.
And don't think that these, and look for the common threads that everybody says.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of the times where the things we talk about are the common threads that every entrepreneur and business owner would tell you, because it doesn't matter how smart you are or how good you think your plan is or your forecast and your pro formas and all these business planning tools that you have. You can have the best in the world, but as soon as you hit the streets with that puppy, you will absolutely sacrifice.
It's essential.
It's the truth.
It really is. I'm so lucky that over the last 20 years being a professor working here at the U of A in the Walton College, and all the guest speakers that I bring in, people like yourself and many others who have started and owned businesses or work in family-owned businesses or bought businesses or sold businesses, the experience that I have been able to capture from all those people, coupled with all the projects my students do, it's been a tremendous education for me.
Yeah. And now you're passing this on this show.
I'm trying to.
No, that's good though.
I'm trying to. I hope people take what we're saying seriously and realize that they can implement a lot of what we're talking about here to make their lives better, make their business more successful, improve the lives of their employees and their clients and customers,
and then create change in the marketplace to keep us going
and create a lot of value they can cash in on someday.
That's right.
And develop other options for themselves in the way of time and business opportunities and ways to exercise creative expression.
Yep.
Okay, that comes from having an exit.
Yep. Oh,
at
absolutely.
some point where you get paid back for all that.
Yeah. And it's risky as hell.
Yeah, it's risky, but it's
not being negative, but it's the reality to it.
Yeah, but it's I always say, but I still don't think business ownership is as risky as working in corporate America.
No, I agree. At least you can see things coming. You can navigate it.
Yeah, your head's on the chopping block any minute. It's like you're self-employed and you have one client or customer.
Yep. And the idea that you're not vulnerable to that and you're not taking a risk is not truth.
It's not. I mean, there used to be a cartoon of a fish in a blender, sitting there like, and at any moment the corporate boss can push the button. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Don't give yourself any illusions of your security.
Somebody else outside of your control can push that blender button.
Yep.
But you can keep swimming around in that blender.
Yeah, we can feel like, hey, I got a lot of room in here.
Life's great.
Yep. So anyway, well, listen, it's been great. Again, if you would like to reach out to us, get on our website, www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com. We do value your feedback and your questions. If you'd like to sponsor our show, again, reach out to us on our website or to either Eric or myself as individuals, and we can talk about how we can help you grow your business.
Yep. If you have a business and you want to come on the show,
we want to hear from you.
Absolutely.
Now, if you're a parasite who's got a one-man company, no, we're not interested. I'm sorry. I mean, I get these things continuously. Okay?
Parasite.
No, we don't want that business. We want you where you've actually
We're not
done
your
something.
number one marketing channel.
Yeah. We want to see you've actually done something, not like, hey, I've got a thing I'm going to sell like 1 million other people sell. But I'm a one-man band, and I haven't really done it yet. No.
That's not what we're looking for.
No, we're not looking for that.
Yeah.
So we do have some good guests coming up here soon. Next week, we're going to be talking with Gary Head of Signature Bank, who's a real character. For those of you who don't know Gary, he's the bank founder.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Gary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody's a guy is hysterical. But he's also really smart.
Yeah, no, he is.
And he was actually the banker for Merle Haggard.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Who was a crazy guy. But yeah, Merle Haggard liked Gary and did his banking with him.
Oh, that's awesome.
They didn't live around here.
We need to talk about Merle Haggard next week then.
But Gary knew all of them. He knew Don Tyson. He knew, J.B. Hunt. He knew Sam Walton, all of them.
Cool.
So that's going to be fun.
Good show.
So anyway, until next week, this has been another episode of
Big Talk
About
Small
Business.
Okay, we switched that up. That was pretty tight.
See you, everybody.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Big Talk About Small Business. If you have any questions or ideas for upcoming shows, be sure to head over to our website, www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com, and click on the Ask the Host button for the chance to have your questions answered on the show. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn at Big Talk About Small Business. And be sure to head over to our website to read articles, browse episodes, and ask questions about upcoming shows.